Okay. I think I might actually be live. um, yes, no, maybe so. Um, it looks like I'm live, but this is a still picture. It's not a live camera shot. What is going on? I don't get it. Let me try something else here. Hey, Raymond Williams is giving me a thumbs up. All right, somebody's seeing me. I'm not seeing me, but somebody's seeing me. Thanks, Raymond. Oh my goodness. This is only the second time I've ever done a live, and the first time I did it with YouTube, and so this is my first time trying to use StreamYards. So Raymond, thank you for joining me. Ignacio, okay, welcome. So I don't know if I'll give it a few more minutes to see if people chime in. I know it's a little bit late getting this set up, but I'll give it just a minute and see what happens. I'm seeing 3 watching, but that number might grow to 4. That's the goal. If we can get it to 4. Hey, there's Tom Celtic and Everything Outdoors. Thanks for jumping on here, Tom. I appreciate it. I don't feel like I'm alone. How y'all doing tonight? Doing good? I got my green on. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if you guys are drinking green beer. I'm not, but I do have I've got the green beverage going on, right? The Mountain Dew, rocking that tonight. Big Joe's Outdoors. Welcome in. Thanks for joining me. Thank you. Welcome. Come on in. I'm going to be talking some springtime fishing lures, and just about doesn't matter where you're at. I've got a pretty broad spectrum that cover a whole lot of different fish. Stuff you could use for crappies and trout and walleyes and saugers and bass, of course, and then muskies. If you watch my channel, you know that I do certainly like to fish for muskies. I don't do a whole lot of super early spring musky fishing, like ice out conditions. Although I did see a fishing report today that a guy on one of the lake closest to me, Allen Creek, he caught a really nice muskie, probably close to 40 inches. Ignacio, I'm in Ohio, Central Ohio to be specific. Coffee Outdoors in the house. 5 watching, that's great. Thanks, Dave. Glad you could join us. We got the Reef Robbers in the house. Thanks for joining. I appreciate that, fellas. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys. I got a little bit of Irish in me. I think it's like 25%, so that counts, right? Oh, so yeah, as I was saying, just about cover the spectrum. Pike and muskies and walleyes, saweyes, saugers, whatever you got in your area, trout, crappies. I know crappies are just about everywhere. They're really good in the spring, man. That cold water crappie, you get a mess of those fresh and fry those up. That's some of the best eating there is. Yellow perch is pretty good too, but I usually target those late summer, early fall when I do get up to Lake Erie for them. So good. Thanks for joining me, guys. I will go ahead and get started with what I planned. This can be kind of a free for all, but I'm just going to yap away. Why not, right? The first thing I'm going to start out with springtime fishing. I'm almost always going to get out there with a jig, and I mean, I really simplify that. This is going to be kind of like a show and tell, but that's a lead head, a plain lead head jig. And then I will usually put a minnow on that, right? Sometimes when I'm targeting crappie, that'll be the that'll be more of the tube style lead head. And I'll put those little 1-inch tubes on there. I like chartreuse, orange, red, chartreuse and black. I don't know the color really matters. I like to get a little bit of a contrast, like a red and white or a black and chartreuse, something that's bright, and then something that's a darker color. I think that contrast can trigger them. But a lot of times, especially walleye or sawguy, that right there is about all you need is a plain lead head jig. Trying to get that to show up. This right here is a 1/4 ounce. I use 1/4 ounce. I use 1/8 ounce. A lot of times I'll double them up. We can do 2 at once. Put a twister tail on the end of it. This is what I commonly throw for twister tails is a chartreuse. I got one rigged up right here. It's black, kind of a black and gray, almost imitating a shad. And I think most of you guys, if you fish and you fish in the springtime, you recognize that's pretty common to throw a jig and a twister tail, or jig and live bait, or as I mentioned with the crappies, maybe downsize into those tube jigs. Those just work phenomenally. And actually, it was about a week ago, I was watching a YouTube video for steelhead fishing. That's something I don't do a lot of, but I've been kind of curious about it and wanting to go up north, fish some of those Cleveland area tributaries for steelhead. And a guy was catching them on a tube jig, like what I would use for crappie. And he was catching, 20, 24-inch steelhead. I thought that was fantastic. So let's see. Another popular item, especially around here, Ohio, Central Ohio, is to tip your lead head with a swim bait, a paddle tail swim bait. And this particular model right here, that's a Big Joshy swim bait. Those are made here locally in Ohio. One of the guys that fish our area reservoirs and rivers for sawguy a lot, he found that he liked using the paddle tails, but a lot of times they didn't have good action in that tail. You had to fish it fast to get that tail to really wiggle. So he came up with his own design for these, and these you could just barely move them, and that tail will still provide action. And so that works really, really well for the sawguys. Judith and Dan Davis in the house. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate that. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you folks down south. I know you guys like fishing the rivers for sauger. But the funny thing about this swim bait, they're killer for sawguys. I know this because I see this on the reports by everybody else. But in my own personal experience, I don't think I have ever caught a sawguy on one of these baits. Every time I fish them, I'll catch bass. I've caught crappie on them. I catch white bass on them. I catch everything except for sawguy when I fish these. But the twister tails are killer. I've caught a lot of sawguy and walleye with the lead head and the twister tail. And as I mentioned right off the top, don't forget that lead head and the plain lead head and a minnow, especially in clear water conditions. You trout fishermen, you walleye fishermen, and then, of course, sawguy. If it's clear water conditions, that's all you need is a lead head and a minnow, and you are golden. That black is another one that I'll use in clear water conditions. Okay, who's ready to move on to bass? We're going to talk some bass. I've got a couple lures here to show you. This one right here is a chatterbait. Those have become really, really popular in the last, 8-10 years. Maybe not even that long, but they've got that wonky action, right? They want to just kind of wiggle back and forth and shimmy and shake. The skirt bounces around. And then, of course, I always put a trail on it. This one happens to have a double tail grub trailer on it, just to kind of, again, add more action to that bait. And then, if you guys have watched some of my videos in the spring and in the summertime, if I'm kayaking on a creek or a river, I'm gonna be throwing a spinnerbait. I mean, I'll fish them in the lakes too for bass, but largemouth and smallmouth bass. This right here is my favorite lure that exists. This particular model, it's a War Eagle with the double willows. One is chrome and one is gold. I'm not sure that the color matters. I like the chartreuse and white, and I will usually put a chartreuse trailer on that. I always fish my spinnerbaits with a chartreuse or with a twister tail on that hook. I just feel like that added action gets them to really drill the body of the bait. This is a 3/8 ounce. I love this in creeks and rivers. Well, even when the water's stained pretty good, this will shine. In muddy water, I haven't found anything that works. Some people say just go to plain black; it'll stand out a little bit better. But yeah, Dave, the purple worms for bass, especially largemouth in ponds, that's tough to beat any time of year. The spring, summer, fall. I've caught a lot of largemouth bass on a cream worm, either black or purple. You're absolutely right. That's a killer lure. But in the creeks and the rivers, man, I will throw this all day. And I had a pretty good day on Allen Creek, not last spring, but the spring before. I think I caught 8 bass, on a heavily pressured lake in central Ohio. That was pretty good. And that was with this right here. It might have been the half-ounce version instead of the 3/8, but I absolutely love a spinnerbait. Another neat thing about these baits, I've shown this in the videos that I do, but these are really good at coming through cover. Now I'm going to hook myself. That's only going to be entertaining if I draw blood, right? Then you guys will hit the thumbs up. But that, what the heck was I trying to say before I got derailed there? Oh, they come through cover. When you cast this out and it hits the water, if you get it moving right away, it will roll right over branches and logs and rocks, and I don't get it hung up a lot. And one of the reasons I love fishing a spinnerbait in creeks and rivers is because I'm usually doing it from my kayak, right? And when you're on a kayak, you're floating, you're moving, the current is pushing you along. It's a real pain in the butt to get hung up and snagged, especially if I'm in a high flow area, like dropping down a riffle or something. Then I got to try to fight that current and try to get back up to the bait where it's snagged, and it could just be a real pain in the butt. So anytime I have something that's relatively snag free, I'll throw that all day. People like to fish jig and pig with bass, but in a creek or a river when I'm floating, I don't want to be getting that down in them rocks and in the place, because if it gets hung up, it's just a pain in the butt. So that spinnerbait lets me kind of keep moving and keep casting and just keep covering the different water and the different pieces of cover. There was something else I was going to say about that, but I like baits with treble hooks for bass in a lake. I hate them in a creek or river. You almost never see me throw a crankbait or even like a MEP spinner that's got a treble hook off the back of it. If I'm kayaking and fishing flowing water, no way. But in lakes, that's perfectly fine. It's a lot different. I feel like it's usually a little bit easier to get to a snag and get out of it on a pond or a lake, depending on where you're fishing. Okay, moving right along. I'm going to get into the bigger toothy critters, the pike and the muskies. Okay, I'll start out with the small bucktail. I don't know, for some of you that might not look small, but when we're talking about pike and muskies, that's the Mepps Magnum. I think that's a number 6 or a number 7 French blade on that. And it's got some bright to it, the yellow and the red, but then it's also got some subtle, right? The black and a little bit of yellow and orange in there. That's just a really, really good color combination. Here in Ohio, our reservoirs and lakes, even the rivers, they're usually at least stained. You know what I mean? We don't usually have crystal clear water conditions. So something that's got flash and a little bit of bright color and a little bit of contrast that's usually going to get bit. So that's a really good go-to bait. Probably start with that in late April, early May, once those fish are done spawning. Just about everybody that fishes muskies, especially this is kind of like an ice out bait. You got your rattle bait. This is a 1/2 ounce. It's pretty beat up. I forget the exact make and model. I believe that's a Strike King Red Eye Shad. Okay. Tom, the plastics for bass, I do for largemouth. I don't generally use plastics for smallmouth unless it's this guy, a swim bait. And I treat this very similar to the spinner bait. The second it hits the water, I want to get it moving, and I really don't want it to drop down in there and bounce it on the bottom and get in the crevices between rocks and stuff like that. When I'm on flowing water, I'm kind of a pitch and crank and keep it moving. But on ponds and lakes, man, yeah, I definitely like plastics. Like Coffee Outdoors mentioned, the purple worm. I've caught so many largemouth bass on a cream, plastic worm, either black or purple. Absolutely. And sometimes I'll use the like 5-0 Trapper. Welcome. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for joining us. Tubby Guy Outdoors. Good to have you. Thanks for joining me. I kind of saw Wednesday night as an open night. Didn't seem like a lot of people were doing lives. I'm going to incorporate lives into my channel a little bit more. So I thought Wednesdays at 8, I'm gonna give this a go. I do have some channel shout outs. Those are coming later. And if you're not on it, don't feel bad. A lot of this is part of the community that I'm in, that a lot of you guys are in. So some of it might be redundant, but you never know. There might be one there that you guys haven't checked out that I've landed on. So, and I'll continue those, right? So next Wednesday I'll do a live and I'll come up with some new channels to shout out and do it that way. But getting back to this rattle bait, I mean, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's got those rattles inside. And again, it's kind of got, this one's beat up, but it does have some bright color to it. It's got that red and it's got some yellow, and then it's got some subtle blue and chartreuse in it. And it's also got some of those glitter, looks like scales, I guess. And of course, it's got that shad dot on it. That's a 1/2 ounce, but these are great. Guys catch muskies on these baits. Muskies will key on baits, especially at ice out conditions. I want to see lots of fishing this year. You know something, the Beast, welcome in. I appreciate you joining. I am definitely going to get to the fishing really, really soon. In fact, our weather last spring, it didn't break till late. This year, I'd say it's broke. I'm seeing reports, guys are catching fish. My work schedule, kid schedule, all that, I just haven't been able to get out. But my schedule going forward for this coming weekend and beyond is looking really, really good. And the weather is going to stay the same. Usually I get excited and it's like, oh crap, you look at the weather forecast and there's a cold front's going to blast us, right? No. This weekend, I think Saturday for my area, it's going to be a high of like 54, 55. And then Sunday, it's going to be like 62, 63. And there's not much rain between now and then. So the area, lakes and reservoirs, they're not going to get all muddied up. So I definitely have some fishing videos in the can. They're going to get worked out real soon, I promise you. But anywhere you go, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York, if the season is open in the cold water spring, these things are killer for the pike and the muskies. I know a lot. David Francis, welcome in. Good to have you. Slash baits do definitely work. I picked up a new Rapala Husky jerk this year that I'm definitely excited to try that out. WV Chad, welcome in. Glad to have you. Appreciate you joining. I've got a couple more of these. One's kind of a chrome blueback imitating the shad, and I think it's the classic Bill Lewis rattle trap. And then I've got one that's kind of an orange and red, almost like I don't know if they call it a Texas crawdad or something like that, but springtime pike and musky, these are really, really good baits. Another springtime bait that I've caught muskies on early season is it's a storm swimming stick. It's a hard swim bait. It does have a small bill on it, so you'd almost call that a shallow running crankbait, but it's jointed. I love that I can throw this shallow and not worry about it getting weeds and into the structure and everything. It runs right above all that stuff. This bait really only goes down about a foot and a half. And it's great on a pitch and wind. Just bring it straight back or even just stop it. And it kind of has a subtle little hang. It does not suspend, so this isn't something you stop and let it sit there for 10 seconds, but you can pause it for a second or two and then resume it. So it does a really good start and stop for that. But just to pitch and wind it, I can even see some, I don't know if that'll show up on camera, but you can see that's gotten ate up pretty good. I've caught a few good muskies on that one. And that's kind of a theme with a lot of the baits that I throw. You'll see is that it's going to have bright colors, chartreuse and orange. That's kind of a fire tiger pattern, and on our lakes and reservoirs and even our rivers, that's a deadly color, and it's kind of a good color for St. Patrick's Day, right? Flooding down south. That's no good. I talked to my dad earlier, and he's in. He's got a place down at North Carolina in the Outer Banks, and he said it's been cold and rainy down there. I was like, well, we got 62 here today, so. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you guys are getting inundated with the weather down there. Oof, that's tough. That is tough. Okay. Now I've got something new for my springtime musky pursuits this year. I'm really excited about this next bait that I'm going to show you. This is one that I've had this idea in my mind that I know that in recent years, we'll say the last 4, 5, 6 years, swim jigs have really taken off in the world of bass fishing, right? And that's a lot like a spinner bait, but minus the wire, right? They take this wire and the blade stuff off. So it's a jig, but it'll usually have a little bit different style jig head than what you throw for a jig and pig. It's not one that you want to stand up on the bottom or anything. And a lot of times they have a bigger skirt on them. You want that skirt to pulse, and then they'll put one of these on it, a soft swim paddle tail swim bait, and they call that a swim jig. The skirt kind of has that breathing motion, and the swim jig has that side to side roller rocking motion. And the bass guys have found that on these swim jigs, they do really, really well on the bass, especially in the spring form. So I decided I was going to build a swim jig for muskies. So I used to make spinner baits for muskies, and I kind of lost interest in it, and I didn't really have the paint to color them up. So, but anyway, I had a bunch of skirts, musky size bait skirts, just laying around. So all I had to do was buy a heavy swim jig, like lead head, and I bought a 1-ounce swim jig, and that's got, I think, a 3-aught hook on it. Might have a 4-aught hook on it. I added that chartreuse skirt that I had laying around, and that's got that glitter flake in it too. And then check out this big 6-inch paddle tail swim bait that I added to it. That's got a chartreuse belly and then the kind of a purple, shiny purple top to it. The profile of that bait, I am super excited to throw that this spring for the muskies. That is going to be, I have a feeling that's going to be dynamite on the, I can't even get it in the camera. That's going to be dynamite. I know I'm going to catch a muskie on there. I'm super excited. And you know something else, musky baits. I don't know if a lot of you guys fish muskies or target them regularly. The cost of a musky bait, a musky lure, has gotten outrageous. You know, the crankbaits are getting up there around 25, 30, 40 bucks, and people love to fish the bucktails. And I mean, yeah, that's a bucktail, but that's a small one. These guys are throwing like 10-inch bucktails that got the number 10 blades, 2 number 10 blades on them. And some of these baits will go 30, 35, 40 bucks. I've got about $5.29 in this bait right here. And I mean, it's got the look and it's got the action, it's got the profile, and it's got the color. I am convinced this is going to catch a muskie. I'll at least get some follows on it. But I think if I throw it and throw it and throw it, you know, muskies are the fish of 10,000 casts. I'm pretty sure that's gonna put some fish in the boat for me. Give me about 10 seconds here, folks. I'll be right back. Just gotta tuck the kiddo in. Okay, I'm back. I appreciate your patience. Had to tuck in the 7-year-old. Now I know I've rambled on about the baits that I like to throw in the springtime and some of the baits that have produced for me. And I've seen a few of you guys mention some baits, but feel free to throw out what your favorite baits are. My favorite musky bait, well, I suppose I could dig it out. Judith and Dan Davis say a cowgirl spinner. Yeah, those are expensive. They're bright, they're flashing, they work, especially up north, man. Those Minnesota and Wisconsin folks, they have the land of muskies galore. It's phenomenal the opportunities that they have. My favorite muskie bait, Wyatt, I have to say it's the one that I've caught the most muskies on. I'll dig it out here in a minute. I do a lot of trolling, and I'm using crankbaits when I'm doing that. And it's a 4-inch Boss Shad crankbait, and it's in a clown color. I mean, by now y'all should know that if a bait has chartreuse on it, I like it. Give me just about 10 seconds here. I'll dig that out. Maybe. There it is. I found it. That right there is my favorite musky bait. In the summertime, trolling that at 3 to 4 mile an hour, they just knock the snot out of it. And I'll see if I can get the camera to pick it up, but you can see that it has tooth marks and slashes all through it. Again, that's a boss shad. And that's a wooden bait. It does not have any rattles inside of it. And when I'm fishing for muskies, I actually prefer that. At least in the summertime when I'm trolling my trolling baits, crankbaits that I'm running 3.5, 4 mile an hour. I like them to be silent. I feel like that they get conditioned to that. You know, there's a bunch of guys out there trolling. In Ohio, our waters are really, really pressured. So all those plastic baits that got rattles in them, I feel like they get a little bit turned off on that and conditioned to that. This bait, I want to say I caught. What did I catch on this? I caught 3 muskies in 2020 on this bait. And I caught, no, that isn't right. I caught 4. Because I've caught 9 total. No, I've caught 11 total. I caught 4 last year in 2020 on this bait. In 2019, I caught 7 on this bait. And in 2018, I caught 2. So that should all add up to like 11. I've caught 11 muskies on this exact bait. And then the next closest is not. It's a mile away. This bait right here has probably been hit the most for it's like the second best bait that's produced for me. I've only caught, I think, 3 muskies on this bait, but I had one day where I had it get hit 6 times. I only landed 2 of those fish, and one of them was a dinky little fish, but it was a muskie. So this is a custom-made bait by Zachary Baker. That's called a Baker shad. Some pretty good detail in that paint scheme. If you can see that, it's got like a scale pattern, and it is pretty scratched up, dinged up. But yeah, this is the one I've caught the most on, so that's certainly my favorite. This is a custom-made bait too. I forget the guy's name. He's out of Chardon, Ohio, that makes Boss Shads. They've got a website. You can certainly look up bossshad.com. Or once I'm done and this loads to YouTube, if I can get it to load right, if I don't mess it up, because this is my first time going live with StreamYards. But once it's in there, I should be able to edit it and add in a just into the description. I'll put links for those baits. At least for the Boss Shad, I will. On the Bakers, I don't know if he's got a website or not. I think he just sells them to some of the vendors. You used to be able to get them at the muskie shows, but they haven't been doing the muskie shows because of the pandemic. So another funny thing about these baits, I got this bait and one exactly like it that is a blueback. I don't have it in this box. And I got this bait, and I got another bait plus a rod in a trade for a left-handed reel. I found a left-handed reel just super discounted. It was an Abu Garcia Beast when they first came out, and the right-handed ones were too expensive. They were like $300, but I found this left-handed model for like 180. So I don't know, the left-handed ones just weren't selling for this vendor that was, I think, in Oregon or something like that. So I ordered it, and I tried fishing with it. I tried it about 4 or 5 times, and I couldn't do it. Just too unnatural to try to crank with my left hand, the reel. So I reached out on one of my local outdoors forums, Ohio Game Fishing. They have a marketplace to see if anybody was interested in that reel. to buy it or to trade, and a guy had a 9-foot Lama glass musky rod, and so we met. He was in Cleveland. We met at the halfway point, like Mansfield, and that's cool. Wyatt, be careful. Yeah, eyes on the road. We met in Mansfield, kind of the halfway point between him and me, and he felt bad that the rod wasn't enough to equal the value. Hey, Cody, welcome in. After 5 Outdoors, thanks for joining me. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And so he threw in these lures. This one, 2 of these, and then this one, and then one other one that was kind of a scrub lure. I've never had a hit on it. I've never had a follow. I've never gotten anything out of it. But that was awful nice of him. And I knew this was a good bait. I'd heard of Boss Shad, and I was running this bait the second I got it. But I didn't run these Baker Shads until 2018, and I finally caught a musky on them on 2018. So I started running them more consistently. And this one, I actually broke it. That the day I had 5 hits and I had 2 big ones get off close to the boat, I was slamming it on the water, and you can see there's a split going down there. That's just me abusing the bait. That is not a knock on the craftsmanship of the bait. That was just, me losing my cool. But I thought, I'm going to replace this, and I looked them up. These things are outrageous. I think they're $45. I think they're $45. And I didn't buy it originally. I got it in a trade. And these Boss Shads, I don't know if this is a Crime Boss or the original 4.5-inch, because I don't know if he's measuring from the end of the lip. I don't know if that shows, but look at how that lip is just all beat up. That shows it a little bit. I mean, it has been digging into the rocks and the bottom, and this bait has been a trooper for me, man. It's caught a lot of fish for me. But these are like $38. Well, this size, I don't think this is a Crime Boss. I think this is the original Boss Shad, 4.5-incher. That's $38, and they get $30 for their little Crime Boss. It's a little bit smaller than that. No kidding, Cody. But they had asked me my favorite musky bait, so I wanted to get into some of that. It'd be cool to see you guys throw out some of your favorite springtime fishing baits, no matter what you fish for. If it's bass, or if you like to fish for crappies and walleyes, and whatever your favorite bait is. Maybe Cody will share his favorite northern pike ice fishing bait. I don't know, because it's getting to be springtime there, but I think they're still ice fishing. Let's see, did I miss anybody? I think I have. Yeah, I'll just stop yapping here for a minute, see if any of you guys want to throw out your favorites. Smelt on the number 4 octopus hook for those tip-ups. Thanks, 5-0 Trapper. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. JV Outdoors, welcome. Appreciate it. JV hunting pike and musky lures. You make some baits too, bud? That's awesome. That is awesome. Man, I'd love to check that out. Hula poppers for bass, Tom. That's a topwater bait, and catching bass on a topwater lure is just about the best way to catch bass. I'm telling you, that is uh that is a really good way. That's fun. That's fun. Whether it's a hula popper or a jitterbug or a whopper, ploppers are all the rage. I finally caught my first whopper plopper bass last summer in the river. It was a pretty good day. The bass were hitting. So they started slow, but around midday they woke up and they started hitting pretty good. So I started throwing that whopper plopper a little bit more consistently, and I had three blowups and one fish managed to get hooked, and I got it in the kayak. So I love topwater, whether it's a buzz bait or a hula popper, even a floating rapala just twitched on the surface can be deadly. And I know a lot of guys love those. What is that? Walk the dog. Zara Spook. The Zara Spook, man. The guys in the Mid Atlantic and those rivers, those big wide rivers like the Potomac and the what's the name of that big river out there? James River. They love throwing those Zara Spooks, man. They love it. The extreme musky lure cranks, absolutely, absolutely. Vertical jigging, Cody. Have you ever used those? What are those big rubber baits? The Bondies. Have you seen those? That's a guy out of Michigan. I think he fishing the Detroit River and the St. Clair watershed. He designed those big rubber Bondi baits that you jig vertically. I think he designed a side handle because it as they're jigging those, they hit so violently that you almost want to have a little bit more leverage to set the hook on those bad boys. The walleye, yeah, the walleye gear. Yeah, in cold water, muskies will definitely key on smaller forage. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. I know guys saw fishing catch them on this a 1/8 or 1/4 ounce lead head and a 3-inch twister tail. It's not super common, but like I said, they'll hit that for sure, for sure. A worm and a hook fishing off a bank for trout. That's absolutely, absolutely. That's a good spring day, man. Sunny and warm and catching trout in a little creek or a river. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love fishing flowing water, especially now that I have a kayak. And when I was younger, I fished off the bank. I waded. I did all that. And uh, fishing that I went to a canoe and then I I got a kayak. A bunch of my buddies fished out of kayaks, and I just absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Ripping wraps. Okay. Yeah, I got Cody. I got a new the sucker fishing. um, I've caught a couple of bigger suckers when I was sawguy fishing. I think the biggest one I ever caught was like 18 inches. I thought I had a nice sawguy, and when I got it in, I was like, "Holy crap!" um, you mentioned the smaller gear, Cody. The I got a new rod last year, an Avid, and it's an 8.5 foot rod, but it's medium heavy weight, and it feels like a bass rod. The weight of it and the kind of it won't handle big heavy musky lures like this guy. I don't know how much it weighs, but that rod is really only designed for baits up to about an ounce. So that would put too much torque on the end of the rod. It's got an extra fast rod tip. So it feels like bass gear. I bought an oversized bass bait caster to put on it, and I'm really excited to fish that. It's kind of like an oversized bass rod and reel. So I'm excited this spring to, throw in stuff like this little 1 ounce swim jig. I just feel like that's just gonna be deadly. I can't wait to throw that. I'm getting the boat out this weekend. I might be poking around, flinging that around. You got some skinny water, Tom, if you're catching them suckers by hand. That's some skinny water, boy. All right, fellas, I have rambled on for nearly an hour. We're at 51 minutes, even with the late start. I am going to try to keep it to an hour, but I promised channel shout outs for this live. And again, most of you guys that are in here watching, I really, really appreciate that. You're part of my community, and so some of you may already have these guys, but if you don't, be sure and check these guys out. I kind of tried to key on channels that either aren't real big yet, or maybe they don't do lives. So maybe you're not exposed to them if you're looking for people that do lives. But the first channel I'm going to shout out is Schick Happens. CJ, he's got a small farm in Northwest Ohio, and his content revolves around his small farm and outdoor stuff such as fishing and hunting and farming. And he has a fantastic sense of humor. Backwoods Barbarian in the house. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Same with Lee Evans, Catfish Kentucky Outdoors. Welcome in. Appreciate you stopping by. But CJ has an amazing sense of humor. It's a dry sense of humor, but he's so funny. He really, really is. So if you get a chance, check out his channel. It's called Schick Happens. SCHICK Happens. That's kind of a pun, if you will. So shout out number 2 is going to go to Father and Sons Fishing. Him and his boys, they're really, really entertaining. I enjoy them. He's also a doctor, the father is, so he brings you the knowledge, the 411. Super guy, real genuine. That's what I look for in YouTube channels. So definitely check those guys out. Father and Son Fishing. The third channel I'm going to shout out tonight is Make It, Take It Outdoors. This is a good friend of mine here in Central Ohio, David. And his whole channel is centered around him making lures. He makes lures and then takes them out and fishes with them. And he shows you that it doesn't take much. You don't have to have fancy tools. You don't have to have a bunch of hardware. You don't have to buy in bulk, a bunch of hooks and swivels and clips and all this stuff. No, he simplifies it. He keeps it really, really simple, and he makes bait, and he goes out, and then he actually does catch fish. He's caught some really, really nice bass, and he's kind of a goofball too. So I mean, pretty entertaining stuff too. Okay, yeah, a few of you guys have got CJ on Schick Happens. That's fantastic. Fourth channel that I'm going to shout out is Bucktails Outdoors. Don is he's a humble guy, and he's a really, really good guy, and he does a lot of fishing, and he does some hunting and some trail cam stuff. Thanks, JV Outdoors. Appreciate you popping in. Yeah, definitely hit that thumbs up. I'm always with the thumbs up when I start my videos in my opens. But Don is a great guy. He's got a really, really entertaining channel. So if you get a chance, Bucktails Outdoors, definitely check that out. You won't be disappointed. He's a really, really good dude, and he's got a great channel. Number 5 shout out tonight. Most of you already have this character. It's going to be Daddy Duck 365, Matt Wongray. He's a good friend. He's a goofball too, again, so it's real easy for me to relate to him. But he'll bring you duck hunting, he'll bring you turkey hunting, he'll bring you a little bit of fishing here and there. Good dude, tried and true outdoorsman. John Schwartz, welcome in. Thanks for having me. Perfect getting gear together for walleye run. Yeah, definitely. I did mention I've got the lead head twister tails, the jigs. I even got the swim baits, walleyes, and saga. You mentioned walleye run. If that's like the rivers, the Maumee River is a famous walleye run, and the Sandusky River, northwest Ohio. They I know they like to use the floating jigs in those rivers for that walleye run, and then they'll use an egg sinker out in front of it, almost like Carolina rigging, and that seems to work really, really well. So I mentioned Matt Wongray of Daddy Duck 365. He's got a fantastic channel. Number six. This one's a little bit subtle. Most of you may have him, you may not have him, but the number 6 shout out. This is the last shout out for tonight. It's going to be John Euler Outdoors. He's got a great channel. He's hunting and fishing. He's an Ohio guy. He's up in northern Ohio, and he's pretty entertaining too. He gets excited. He's a little bit like me. And that's what makes it fun. That's why we love the outdoors. You know, you get excited to catch a big fish, you get a big buck. That his passion shines through. I really, really appreciate that. So please don't feel left out. I'm looking to make this a regular thing. The Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, I'll come up with something for what I'm going to present for the live. But at the end, I'll always do some channel shout out. So, everybody will get mentioned. All like 390 that I follow, or 490. I don't know what it is, but. Let's see, 8:58. I've rambled on for about an hour. That's about all I had. If any of you guys want to share a favorite, do your own shout out here at the very end, I certainly appreciate it. I'm humbled. The first time I did a live, I think Judith and Dan Davis joined me, and maybe one other person. And I did it just on YouTube. I did it right from that platform. I didn't have the StreamYards, so I added StreamYards. So in the future, I might bring some woman up on panel if I can figure that out. This is all new to me. It's technology that I don't fully understand, but I'll play with it. I'll figure it out. If guys like Cody and Matt can figure it out, and Wyatt and some of you other knuckleheads, and Boxy, I don't think he's the savviest technology person, and he figures it out. So I guess I'll just have to figure it out. Yeah, definitely. If I had to predict, it's probably Dave, my friend. Take it outdoors. He's got a neat channel. It's as easy as it sounds. If you do a search for take it outdoors, you'll certainly find him. But once this is uploaded and finalized or whatever, I'll go in and edit it, and I'll add the channels that I did a shout out down in the bottom. Yeah, Big Joe's Outdoors. Thanks for coming in. I'll get it. We all learn it, right? I guess I could mess it up and then, try it again, and eventually that's how we learn, right? We just push buttons until something breaks, right? That's how I learn. When the stream crashes, I'll know that I broke it. All right, folks, I got 9 o'clock. I went live for an hour, and that was my goal. That was my plan. I did a lot of rambling, and it seems like most of you stuck around. So I hope it was somewhat entertaining. I hope you got something out of it. I hope maybe you found a lure that maybe this spring you'll get out and throw that. Yeah, training wheels. That sounds about right, Judith and Dan Davis. Training wheels are coming off, right? We're gonna do this. Figure it out. Push buttons until we break it, and try again. Thanks. Appreciate it. You guys all have a great night. And again, luck of the Irish. Happy St. Patrick's Day. God bless you all. I love you.